Hey everybody, welcome back around to the Blog and Grill. I'm your host Doug here with your video blog for Wednesday, September 24th, 2014. Not much really to talk about today. I'm going to do a little bit of some hunt for October. I'm going to talk about the future of the Yankees after this year, as today they will likely be eliminated from the playoff contention. We're going to do our Heisman Watch update, as well as we have a new guy in the Heisman race. But first, let's get to our NFL Power Rankings. NFL Power Rankings start coming in at number 5 this week. A new team, the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals, with Drew Stanton, have now beaten the Giants and the 49ers. They had a very impressive win also in Week 1 against the Chargers. I like what they're doing defensively. I think their offense is going to get better, so the Cardinals are in at number 5. Number 4, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. The good old Cincinnati Bengals. I like what they've done defensively this year. I think Andy Dalton needs to start to throw the ball down the field a little bit better. He wasn't great last week, but still playing strong defensively. They'll have a bye week, and then they'll play New England. That'll be a tough game for them. Number 3, I think probably the top team in the AFC right now has to be the Denver Broncos at 2-1. I like their offense. Their defense showed some capability against the Seahawks last weekend, and I think Denver's a team that can mature, get better, and eventually be able to get back into the playoffs and make a run if Peyton Manning can get his throws a little bit better. Coming in at number 2, I still have the Philadelphia Eagles up there. They have not won impressively this year. I think the Redskins are a better team than people think. I like Philadelphia. I like their offense, and their defense will get better. I'm going to take Philadelphia at number 2. And, of course, number 1, still number 1, the Seattle Seahawks in at 2-1. Just the best team in football, and they're just playing like the best team in football. If you watch that overtime drive against Denver on Sunday, it was just so impressive how Russell Wilson got it done. All right, so later on in the week, we're going to talk a little bit about Steve Bisciotti and Roger Goodell, as some more stuff will likely come out about them. Baltimore Ravens owner and Roger Goodell. We'll talk more about that on Friday. Time for your Heisman update. My number 1 guy right now in the Heisman race has to still be Marcus Mariota, the quarterback out of Oregon. 1,135 yards passing, 13 touchdowns to no picks, a quarterback high rating of 218, and he also has 3 rushing touchdowns. Number 2 guy, I need to see him play somebody big. He beat South Carolina. Kenny Hill from Texas A&M. 1,094 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, no picks, and a 178 quarterback rating. Been impressive, but I'm going to have to see him play some better teams in the SEC. We'll see if he can beat those teams later on. And finally, the wide receiver is joining the party. Wide receiver Amari Cooper out of Alabama. 43 catches already this year, 655 yards and 5 touchdowns. Is easily the best wide receiver in college football and could be the best player in college football. Right now, I think you can make a case between him and Todd Gurley. So that's our Heisman update. We'll keep our Heisman Watch update going each week. Now we're going to get into a little bit of baseball, just kind of wrapping up the Yankees season for them as it'll come to a close on Sunday in Boston and the close of Derek Jeter's career. And really the future of them going down the stretch next year. If you have to look at some spots where it's not looking so good, they're going to be an old roster still. You're going to have Sabathia back, Teixeira back, and they're just going to be a more injury-prone lineup with Carlos Beltran, Ichiro Suzuki. If I had to look at some bright spots, I really like the top end of their rotation. Ivan Nova's going to be back. He's a legit number 3. I also like their 2 top guys. I think next year are going to be Masahiro Tanaka and Michael Pineda if they can both stay healthy. And then you still have Sabathia, who can be a 4, and David Phelps, because I do not think Hiroki Kuroda will be back. And another positive has to be the back end of the bullpen. Betances could be the closer next year, depending on what they do with David Robertson. And Robertson is a free agent, but he is a legit closer in this league. And finally, I like what I've seen out of Brett Gardner this year. A little bit down on the average, 258, but he's hitting the ball out of the ballpark, 17 home runs and 58 RBIs, both career highs. I like what Gardy's doing. Still playing good defense, but he needs to steal more bases, but that's got to be a plus for them going into next year. If you have to look at the questions, it has to be that back end of the rotation, because you don't know what you're going to get out of Sabathia next year. You don't know what you're going to get out of David Phelps next year, and if Hiroki Kuroda comes back, what he'll give you. And also your power hitters. You don't have a lot of power in your lineup. Teixeira is a legit power hitter, but he's going to be hurt. McCann needs to hit the ball out of the ballpark more. And maybe you need to go out and make a move, make a splashy move, get a big-time power hitter like a Nelson Cruz or something. And finally, A-Rod. Yes, A-Rod will be back next year. He's going to play some third base for them, I think. I think he'll DH a lot. And really what I think you look out for out of A-Rod is probably a 250 season with 20 home runs and 60 RBIs. I think that'd be a success for A-Rod coming back off this long suspension. All right, before we get out of here today, I just want to do a brief Hunt for October update as we have some tight wild card races coming down the stretch. Of course, the National League playoff picture is really taking shape. American League is still up in the air. In the Central, in the American League, we have Detroit just a game up on Kansas City, so Detroit could still fall out of that spot for that top wild card. And they're probably not going to fall out of the playoffs, as it's just a battle now for who gets the top spot. Oakland and Kansas City are in the wild card spots. And in the National League, Pittsburgh now has that number one spot by a game over the Giants. It's very impressive by Pittsburgh, and they could have a shot to get to the division title, as they're just a game and a half back of the St. Louis Cardinals. Right now, what we're looking at playoff matchup-wise is going to be interesting. We could see in the American League right now, we're looking at probably Detroit and Baltimore in one series, and then Anaheim will play the winner of Oakland KC. So that would be good. Detroit beat the Orioles 5 out of 6 times this past year. And in the National League, we're looking at the Dodgers and the Cards. And the Dodgers beat the Cards 4-3. That'd be a great first round series. And in the National League, wild card picture would be the winner of San Francisco and Pittsburgh against Washington, which is a good matchup for either of those wild card teams as well. All right, so we'll be back on Friday. We'll talk NFL. We'll talk college football. We're going to talk a little bit about NASCAR, as Tony Stewart's hearing has been finished in the grand jury, so we might get some word on that by Friday. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about some more NFL stuff. We'll get you ready for a good weekend. And then Friday night, Beyond the Upright launches, okay, with Mike Schumann. He'll be on here with me around 10 o'clock Friday night. Tune in for that. If you don't catch it live on Google Hangout, we will be back later on. I'm going to post the video, so it'll be up on YouTube. So Beyond the Upright starts on Friday night, right around 10 o'clock. Tune in for that. It's going to be a lot of fun for sure. We'll bring a different guy on each week and just talk football for 30 minutes. You know, it's going to be fun, so definitely tune in for part of that. Always remember to follow me on Twitter, YankeeBaller415. You can check me out on SportsMindedNews.com as well. Comment, question, subscribe to my page. Thanks for tuning in to the blog, Andrew. I will be back on Friday. Have a good rest of the week.